أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. Surely prayer stops or prevents immorality and evil deeds, wrongdoing. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the episode 2 of the pornography addiction and dealing with it series. In this episode, inshallah, I'm going to talk about the harms of pornography addiction. As I told you that it is an addiction, it should be dealt with like an addiction, and it has its harms, right? So the first harm is that the prefrontal cortex of our brain, it is a part of our brain which deals with problem solving, willpower, morality, decision making, impulse control, motivation, planning. It basically erodes, it basically damages, it basically destroy hota hai, right? And according to research not done by Muslims but by non-Muslims, Westerners, that the people who watch pornography, who are addicted to it, they have decreased grey matter, right, in it, and because of that they have lowered decision making. अब देखें कि कितना सख्त affect कर रहा है ये आपके brain को, and not only your mental health but it is physically damaging your brain. Another problem that is reported is basically porn-induced erectile dysfunction in young males. So this is a very big problem because it will also affect the relationships of these youngsters in the future. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. It has effect on marriages because the people, when they see certain actors acting in these pornographic and explicit videos, they basically develop a certain kind of criteria for their spouses, right? Because the real world is very different. You cannot stay in fantasy forever, right? So the real world is very different. When they don't see their spouse fitting that criteria of the actor they saw in the video, they are going to lose interest in their spouse, and this can destroy marriages. And I'm not just making this up. There have been a lot of cases in which marriages have been destroyed because of pornography addiction. Another point is that it basically is a reason, one of the reasons, not the only reason, one of the reasons against women, basically violence against women. For violence against women, it is one of the reasons. People don't understand that those are actors, right? There are certain violent activities that are taking place in those videos, and people, and especially the youngsters, when they watch them who are not married, they get a twisted sense of reality and they think that reality is like that, and they are violent to their spouse and they think it is liked by their spouse. Rather, it is not what the reality is, and it is a cause of violence against women. Again, one of the causes of violence against women. There have been reports by a study that was done in the USA in 10th graders that they had basically violence in their dates, right? The dating that they do. They were the people who used to watch violent pornography, they were violent on their dates, both men and women, both boys and girls. There was a certain number, there was a certain percentage of them that were violent to their dates because they used to watch pornography that had basically certain violent scenes in them, which of course gave them a twisted sense of reality. The most problematic thing here is that dopamine intolerance happens. As I mentioned in the first episode, that dopamine is basically released, one feels pleasure, but when a person is addicted to something, they need, for the same amount of pleasure, they need an increased stimulation for that, right? And it also happens in drug addiction. You can check out the studies. So, but when this happens with regards to pornography, they go from low-grade videos to certain videos which are more violent, which have perverted sexual desires in them, or perverted things, or perverted tastes in them which are not normal, which are not the reality, which are not basically acceptable in one's own life. And these things can also affect a person's societal life, their social life, and certain activities. When they are constantly watched, they want to be executed because of the brain of the people who watch these, and they can cause problems in the society. This was all for episode 2. وآخر الدعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.